Welcome at Rick's Europe. As you already know, last Saturday, Donald Trump survived an assassination. It only took zero point 0.3 seconds for him to move his head, or our history would have looked completely different. So we are left with a lot of questions. Lucky for us, with us today is Roan Asselman. He is an American expert and correspondent, and he's also the opinion director at Doorbraak. Rowan, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Scarlett.
First of all, I think a lot of us are wondering that what are the motives of the sniper? We know it's a 20-year-old man. His name was Thomas Crooks. His past high school, where he just graduated 2 years ago, described him as a very quiet man. He's also registered as a Republican. So it makes us wonder, what were his motives? Do we have any idea on that?
We do not really. And I think it's not that easy and maybe even a little bit dangerous to ascribe motives to a man who, by all reasonable judgments, doesn't have a very rational motive. I think you mentioned the fact that he is registered as a Republican. That might be true. He has also given money to liberal causes, so democratic, progressive causes. Those two would seem to be, or at least to contradict each other to a certain extent. But what we should probably focus on is that anyone who is willing to take a shot at a former president and be killed in the process is probably not super clear in the head. And I'm being generous here, and I think in the terms that I'm using. But I'm doing this on purpose. It's always tricky to be too precise in ascribing motives to someone who clearly has probably had other demons to fight at the time when he took that shot, which of course doesn't justify any of it, but very important, I think.
Okay, good to know. And then, of course, the second question is, how could this even happen? So many correspondents have said that to get close to the president, you have to go through this immense security check. You know, you have those almost airport boards where you have to go through. They scan you. There's a lot of security involved. I mean, you are standing next to the former president and maybe the future president of the United States. And what's even crazier is that witnesses have said that they saw the sniper before this horrible event took place. They notified the police. The police was obviously aware of the sniper, and they reacted so slowly.
So
So
what happened?
yeah,
Yeah. So what happened was, this is the best story they've come up with thus far, right? Is that indeed somebody was seen on the building facing the president. It was right outside of the security perimeter. So basically, at a point where there wasn't any Secret Service to be expected there. People, that was just outside of the security perimeter. A local officer who indeed responded to a call saying there's somebody on that roof and he's acting suspiciously. He went, checked, saw him, but apparently then the gunman pointed a rifle at him and the local police agent backed down. Apparently, it's in that moment between the communication between the police officer and the Secret Service the shot was fired. Now, I think, as everyone knows who has followed the story even a little bit, the sniper, the counter sniper, who is serving on the Secret Service detail of the former president, did see him. Yeah. But also, apparently, it's protocol to not fire unless fired upon, including on the former president. Why is that, you might say? Because what's the entire point of having protection if they can only protect you after you've been attacked? Well, the idea is that you would rather not shoot somebody who doesn't have a gun than shoot somebody who does have a gun. So let's say he only has a telescope, now you killed an innocent person. That's not really the main, I think, point of controversy here. It's the fact that that roof was not within the security perimeter, because everyone who has seen, and many people by now have seen, a map of the area, you can tell if there's one building, one place an assassin would situate himself, it would be on that roof, on
okay,
that
but let me
building.
interrupt you there because I can assume
Sure.
that if we're talking about the security for a former president of the United States, this must be the elite. These must be people that really think about every possible worst case scenario. Like you said, there was a platform, like a plattegrond. I'm looking for the English word. you could already see what could be a possible, what we call in the Netherlands, a dead hook, a place that you could, that's outside of the visibility. Also for security, they should have thought about it. I mean, Donald Trump got luckily he survived this attack, but somebody else
Mm-hmm.
was killed. It's someone's dad, it's someone's husband. People died
Mm-hmm.
during this attack. What does it say about his Secret Service?
Well, I mean, a few people have pointed out, I think, two things. One, well, there is obviously and I'm saying the word conspiracy theory not in a derogatory way. I'm just saying it is a theory, it's about a conspiracy, and it has thus far not been proven. But there is, of course, the idea that the subpar security of the former president was on purpose. You know, I tend to discount most conspiracy theories, but of course, and I think we'll talk about it later, the way that Trump has been demonized, it can be fully discounted right now, I think. But it does seem unlikely. It would also seem more likely that there was actually a conspiracy theory. They wouldn't have left it to some random 20-year-old guy to kill the president. They would probably, be someone else.
Yeah.
The other point that people have noticed, which was especially after the gunfire, so not really before, is that if you look at pictures of the security detail protecting the former president, it is noticeable that these people who are women do not seem entirely fit to protect a 6'2" bulk of a man. They're small women, and this is relevant because if you're protection, you need to, for example, be able to throw your body in front of the protectee, and they're just not able to do this. There are other videos of them, not being able to holster a weapon, seeming, very panicky. Not a very good look for what is supposed to be, like you said, the elite of security in the United States. Also, fun fact: the first night of the RNC, of the Republican National Convention, was when we're recording last night. And you could see that his security there, also Secret Service, are all 6'5" men, because of course they're
Already.
not taking this risk twice.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Then I want to touch upon a topic that you already covered, which is the role of the media. When I heard about this incident, I had to think of Pim Fortuyn. For the people watching at home don't know him, he was a very prominent figure in the Netherlands that was really very critical on, for example, illegal immigration, Islamization, and he was brutally murdered just a couple of days away from the Dutch elections. Well, right before he passed away, he said in an interview that if something would happen to him, it's because of the political left and also about the way he was portrayed in the media, which is completely dehumanization. He was completely demonized. And I think it's also something that we've seen with Trump as well. To give you some examples of the headlines that were written on him, there was an op-ed on the Washington Post that said, it's okay to compare Trump with Hitler. There was another image of him that said, Sein Kampf. It's just horrible, the conversations that he had to deal with. And of course, you can be critical. You should be allowed to be critical, especially in a democracy. Everyone is entitled to have your opinion. But this is very dangerous because you are dehumanizing someone, and it can be seen as an open invitation for this kind of horrible incidents. What do you think is the role of media in this whole assassination attempt?
Yeah, not just the media, also democratic politicians who are basically doing the same thing. I think, look, there's only one um, assailant. There's only one person legally responsible, and that's the gunman, right?
Mm.
Nobody forced him to shoot Trump. However, and now, of course, however, this is the important part. It should be noted that over the past few years, and this really got even worse since Trump announced his re-election campaign, the outcry and the level of hysteria among media outlets and among democratic politicians has reached a new height, even higher, I think, than during Trump's actual presidency. Um, you can only call somebody a threat to democracy, an enemy of human rights, an abolisher of the rule of law so many times before somebody decides to take, you know, matters into his own hands. The question is often asked: if you could kill Hitler in 1939, would you? And most people say yes. And I understand why I would say yes as well. With 2020 hindsight, it's always perfect. Well, now if you keep calling Donald Trump Hitler, people are going to think that they're in 1939, not 2024. They are going to think, well, what if I am the man or woman to kill the new Hitler? And this comparison, like you said, it's not like they're not subtle about it. It's not like they're, a little bit of, oh, maybe they're playing with it a bit. No, they're outright calling him Hitler. They've called him Jefferson Davis, who was the president of the slaveholding Confederacy. They've called him George Wallace, who was the segregationist governor of Alabama. They've called him Bull Connor, who was the police chief who sent dogs on black people. They've called him Kim Jong Un, Vladimir Putin, Javier Bolsonaro from Brazil, whatever. Right wing strongmen or straight up dictators. And he's all of them. He's all of them at the same time. It's amazing. And well, yeah, it is to be expected that at one point people are not going to trust that, you know, democratic elections will keep him from power. The polls are showing he'll probably win. These polls were already showing this before the assassination. So, if then somebody comes along, and I said it before, I think this person is not entirely right in the head, but that's usually the people who then shoot other people because they think they're some kind of savior of the republic. They're going to rescue the nation from a new Hitler. And these politicians, these media outlets, they've called him Hitler not once, not twice, but years and years on end. So, yes, they are partially responsible for the climate that allows for a political assassination in 2024.
Yes, and then we get to the last question because what you said, there is a certain climate. They spend billions of dollars creating two very clear camps, and I mean, of course, even Joe Biden condemned this whole assassination attempt, right? But I think what is interesting is that even Democrats said, if you go to social media, it's like the image that we see of Trump right after he was shot are the images of a real leader. Because I think in that moment, your survivor instinct comes up, right? You cannot fake it. You cannot pretend to be a hero. He was really a hero. He was standing strong. He was standing for the American people. And a lot of even Democrats said that Biden could not have done so because he simply doesn't have the strength to do it. What does it say? Do you think Trump already won the elections?
Oh no, I don't. I don't think so. But I do think most people have a fight or flight response, and Trump definitely has a fight response. We've known this for the last 20, 30 years, 40 years since he's been in the public eye. The man is not somebody who runs away. The man is somebody who punches back and punches back so hard that you wish you never punched him to begin with. That's kind of his entire persona. No, I don't think he won the election. I do think people have a very short memory. That is kind of my main red line whenever I talk about politics. It's that this would have happened like 2 weeks before the election, maybe. But no, and honestly, you must be honest about this. There is really no good reason to vote for Trump if you weren't going to vote for Trump before. He's still the same man.
Yeah.
He's not a Democrat. He's not a different kind of Republican. He's still Donald Trump. And if you disagreed with him before the assassination, you'll disagree with him after the assassination. But yes, of course, that's not how many people, vote with a general feeling about a candidate. And of course, this feeling, I think, in the eyes of many, including, like you said, many Democrats, will have improved dramatically. Dramatically, you know, the photos, the picture, they're iconic. I think iconic is a word that was used a lot the last few days, maybe a little bit overused, but it's true. Maybe one extra thing about what you said in the beginning. Joe Biden, of course, condemned it, but he didn't really. Like, we have to be careful with this. He kind of condemned it. He condemned the shooting, yes,
Mm.
but then he refuses to, take the right lessons away from this shooting. Less than 48 hours after the shooting, he was already running ads with Donald Trump. Trump is a threat to democracy. This was 48 hours, less than 48 hours after the assassination. So he said the right things. He said we all need to take the temperature down. I think what he forgot to say rather was including me. And we all have to do it. It felt like he was saying we all have to take the temperature down except for me. I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Which of course he's not. And then, like I said, 48 hours later, he starts running ads with, Donald Trump is going to take your human rights away. He's going to take your democracy away. This might be the last election of our lifetime, of our country. So, he clearly has not learned anything. He said the words that somebody else wrote for him, but his actions speak louder than those words.
Well, that's a very interesting take. Thank you for clarifying that because it says a lot about who Joe Biden is as a leader and as president of the United States. Thank you so much for our viewers for watching Rick's Europe. And Rowan, thank you for being here. We'll send a link of your website down in the bio if you want to have more information. You write amazing columns that I always read with a lot of pleasure. So our viewers
Thank
can have a
you.
look at that as well.